In the last video, we created a new Mobx State Tree view called numEmployees. And what this thing does, it just returned a computed value of the employee length, or more or less the number of employees in our tree. We then rendered it onto the employer component, so we could see that in action. And we also talked about how this type of view allows us to gain access to Mobx State Tree memoization benefits, which improves the performance of this actual calculation. Now, in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to create another view, but this view is actually going to take in parameters. And unfortunately, a big gotcha is that if you have a view that takes in parameters, you actually lose the memoization benefit, which is kind of a bummer, but it still is pretty performant. So specifically what we're going to do is we're going to take the list and we're going to create a search field where you can type in the name and it will essentially filter the list based on whatever you type in the search input. So just to get started, what we'll do is we'll first create the view. And one thing to note here about this new view, we'll actually call it filtered employees. And it'll take in one parameter called search string, and it'll be of type string. Now, one thing you'll notice here about this view is I do not specify get beforehand, and the reason why is because you can't do a get thing here when you use parameters, and as a result, you'll lose the memoization benefit. But still, this view does still present a lot of value. So right here, what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and return self.employees. And then we're going to do a .filter function on this array. And we're going to take the employee off of each one. And we're going to do a arrow function. And then this operation here will either return true or false if we want to include that element in the returned array. So I'll do employee. If I hit control space, I can access the name off of there. And if that name, if this name contains the substring of search string, I don't want to return this name. Or sorry, I do want to return this name. So I'll do .includes and search string. And then I should just be able to save. And now what's essentially occurring here, if this search string resides in the employee name, then it's going to return that element to this list. So back in our component here, what we're currently doing is we are looping through the entire list of employees, but now we'll essentially change that to, instead of looping through this entire list, we'll essentially loop through our filtered list that we created here based on whatever search string we pass in. So the implementation is pretty simple. What I like to do is at the top here, I'll just create the view here. So I'll just say like const filtered employees. And then I'll set that equal to root tree dot employer dot let's see, employees, and actually, sorry, not that one, filtered employees right here. And it's going to take in a parameter which I have not created yet. This is something that's going to exist in state. Let me just go ahead and put a placeholder here. I'll just call it search string, and I'll go ahead and create that state element up here. So if you're using TypeScript, you need to add it to here. So type in search string of type string, and then in this dot state, do search string double quote, and we need to create a class method to handle the change here. So I'll specify search string change, and for this, what I'll do, I'll just say const search string, equals e.target.value, and set state. I'll essentially assign search string to update the state. So that should be good to go. Now I'll destructure search string off of state right here so I can access it in our view. All right, that looks good. And then now down here, I'm essentially going to change this. I'll put an input element right before this list. I'll just specify input. And I'll do value. And I'll do search string. And I'll do on change equals this dot change search string. And I think maybe I got the name wrong. Search string change, sorry. All right. Now this thing right here, I'm going to change this to our filtered employees. Everything else should be the same though. And again, this filtered employees is this view that I calculate up here in the render method. So if I save this, this should end up working. All right, and let me add a placeholder here. Let me just to make this look a little bit cleaner. I'll do placeholder equals search employee name. Let me come back here. Okay, yeah, search employee name. So let's just add a few employees here. I'll do like Jeff, worked 9 hours. Corey worked 5 hours. Sarah worked 2 hours. And let me come down here and I can just search. And there you go, it works. So that's our filter view in action. Anytime I type in something here, it'll change the filtered view and render something different. So that's nice. One item of cleanup, if you may have noticed this, but if I come in here and type in a name and a number of hours and click submit, this thing is not changing back to its original state. So I do want to blank those out, and that's really simple to do. I'll just come into basically the employer code, and in the on submit function here, after I run this command to create a new employee, I'll just do this dot set state, and I'll just basically take employee name and assign it to an empty string. Same thing with hours worked. Sorry, misspelled that. All right, save that. Now if I go back to my app, I can just type in Ben, 4 hours, and now that disappears, so that's great. All right, so I think this is a good stopping point for the video. Just to wrap up, what we did in this video is we created this new search input field. And when you type something in here, it's going to take whatever list you have and it's going to apply it to a view that we created called filtered employees. And we can see that right here. Unfortunately, since this filtered employees takes in a parameter, you don't get the benefits of Mobx State Tree memoization. But still, it's pretty performant nonetheless. But essentially, you know, anytime you pass this in, it is going to do this recalculation. So that's it for this video. I think in the next video, what we'll do is we'll come up to this employee model, and we'll actually create an action on this employee model, which will allow us to just edit one single employee rather than doing it from like the employer level. So this is sort of like the deep level actions and views and stuff like that, which is a great feature of Mobx State Tree. So I'll see you in the next video.